Welcome back, artists. In this video, I'm going to do a tribute painting to our veterans of the poppies and the poppy fields. It's very much associated with Veterans Day, or in the other British colonies, Armistice Day. I love poppies, they're very pretty. As you can see, I started off initially with a pencil sketch, then I went over it with my Itoya blade pen to ink it, put the ink on the page. And now I'm going to start like I often do with my watercolor graphite to lay down my values and get my darks established a little bit more than they already are in the line drawing. I find this intermediate step very helpful to help me put the composition together, and you might find it helpful too. All right, so there we go. There I put in my watercolor graphite, established my lights and darks, helped establish my values. I do that to grab my dark areas and then most, if not all, of my midtones. Now I can go over that with my watercolor paints. Just go right over the top of it. And I can have fun with color. This color I'm using here is Cadmium Scarlet, which is the brightest red that I have in my palette. Poppies are beautiful bright reds, so I will use this color, of course. Now, being left-handed, I'm going to use the very traditional compositional structure in which the source of my light is off the page at 10 o'clock. Had I been right-handed, source of my light would have been off the page at 2 o'clock. But I am going to put my colors then in, being mindful of where my source of light is at. And I know I'm being a bit chunky in the handling of my paint. I'm perfectly fine with that, because as you can see, the pen, the ink from the pen will run. And I want to use the two of them together to help the composition that I have in mind here. I have this vanishing point up in the distance that's adjacent to my church steeple here. So I want to show variation between the foreground and the background and where that vanishing point is at. Now, to help with the sense of three-dimension, to give the sense that I have three-dimensional objects, I will put in a little bit of darker red on the shadow side here. I intentionally leave some of these white areas because typically as a watercolorist, you need to save your whites. If I leave these, I can fill them in later towards the end of the painting when I get my eye a chance to see the overall composition, see how I like it. Okay, well there we put our reds in. Let's put some greens in. This is sap green, very yellowish green, and poppies have these big pods here that before they bloom. And then the background trees here. I paint in a loose manner and loose style, fast and loose. I just sort of block in much of this color. And as long as I keep my values, be mindful of my values, pay more attention to those changes, then I can have fun with color like I'm having here. And I'll let the human eye pick out where I've got leaves and branches. And I think that makes it fun. I think it makes it more enjoyable, more pleasing to look at. I'll just do some random irregular leaf structures as though there's a bit of a breeze blowing. The flowers are blowing in the wind. I'm going to put a few distant greens here. Maintain my vanishing point. Let the top of my trees, my distant trees, fade off into nothing. And then at the bottom, I want to be sure to darken them. I'm going to add a little Prussian blue to the bottom of the distant trees to help darken them. And I'll carry that Prussian blue through the dark centers of the poppies. I'll touch the buds too. Okay, let's add our sky here a little bit. Put down some cerulean blue, add a little cobalt blue. Add a little Prussian blue as well. That'll help tie the piece together using common colors. There's an old landscape painter's general rule of lightning towards the horizon. I'll go ahead and use that here. Keep my horizon dark, but I'll let my sky be light. That'll help show a value shift between the darker foreground and the lighter horizon where the sky meets the land. That'll help strengthen up my reds. I'll come back in here with good strong paint. Okay, now to help emphasize the brilliant red, I'm going to splatter the piece a little bit. Let's get the paint very, very wet. Load up your brush. Saturate with water and paint, and then just fling it on there. Now for contrast, I'll splatter some Prussian blue too, just a little bit. I'll do the same with the sap green. All right, there we go. I like that. We started with our sketch, did our line drawing, went over it with our watercolor graphite to establish our values, and then filled in with the paint and did some splattering at the end. I like that. I think it looks nice and impressionistic and loose, yet you can still tell what it is. I'll let that dry. Then I'll sign it and share it with our friends online. Thank you so much. Please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you. Bye-bye.